Greetings, my name is Kevin Simpson and I'm here to tell you about the Stanley Lake Area Elementary Instrumental Music Program. This is the presentation that we're going to be giving on August 29th. If you could not or cannot make that night, this is a great way to get all that information. So the team in the Stanley Lake area consists of a lot of different people. We have Miss Kelsey Reeve, who is the elementary orchestra teacher at Ryan, Semper, Lucas, Witt, and Meiklejohn. Myself, Kevin Simpson, and I teach at Ryan, Sheridan Green, Semper, Adams, Lucas, Witt, and Meiklejohn for band, and I teach orchestra at Adams and Sheridan Green. Our middle school teachers are Miss Hope Hosier. She has traditionally been our band orchestra teacher, but this year she's moved into a choir and drama role. And we also have Cameron Gellick now at Mandalay and Wayne Carl as both the band and orchestra teacher. At Stanley Lake, Miss Reeve teaches orchestra, and we have Miss Chrissy Duran as the band teacher. So the most important thing to get your kids started off in the band and orchestra program is our handbook. The first day that students meet, the first day that we have class for band and orchestra, any student who's interested will be sent down to the band and orchestra classroom, and we'll be giving a presentation to them about how the program works, and we'll be giving them a copy of the handbook. If your student loses the handbook or something bad happens to it, you can always print off a new copy at our website, stanleylakemusic.com. The handbook has a list of all of our after-school activities like concert dates, rehearsals, including our weekly schedule of when the kids will meet and at what time. It has stuff like instrument care advice, some practice tips, and the most important thing is on the very back of the page is our contract, and that will be the student's ticket in the door on the second day that they come to band or orchestra. It needs to be signed by both the student and the parent, and it indicates that the handbook has been read and that all expectations are understood. So let's talk about those expectations. The first one is that our students have fun. If a kid's not having fun, we need to fix that because students who aren't having fun will not typically remain in the program for very long. So if your student doesn't seem to be enjoying it, tell them to come talk to Mr. Simpson, go talk to Mr. Reeve, and we will do what we can to fix that problem. The second thing is that we always make sure that our students are respectful. If a teacher is talking, the students need to be focused and listening. They shouldn't be playing their instrument when they're not supposed to and being a distraction. If a student is performing for the class, they should be a respectful audience, not laugh at mistakes, things like that. So very obvious, very simple stuff. The third thing, is that the students need to be responsible, and that requires that students always show up to every weekly band orchestra class with their equipment, which is their instrument, their music, and a pencil. And pencils are really important. We use them to mark our mistakes. A huge favor that every parent can do is go to Target, go to Walmart, buy a big stack of pencils, and put a whole bunch of them in their instrument case so that when a student makes a mistake, they can just take out that pencil, mark it, and we can move on. And then the next thing is that students attend our after-school rehearsals and concerts. The whole point of a performance-based program like the instrumental music program is that we perform and that we have concerts and that the students attend those. So really important that students go to those as well. Next thing is that we be productive. It's always our goal that we're continuing to progress, to learn new things at all times, and to do that, students need to come in prepared. If we assign homework, students should go home, practice that, make sure that they understand that, so when they come in, we don't have to go over old material a whole bunch. If a student doesn't quite get something and they practice it a whole lot, that's fine. If a student practices and comes in and says, Mr. Simpson, I really don't get this, that's fine. That to me is coming in prepared because the student made an honest effort, and that becomes our job as teachers at that point to step in and work with the child to figure out what exactly went wrong and what we can do to help them move on. And then finally, we want our students to all be leaders. We lead by example in the band and orchestra program. If a student comes in and sets a positive example for the rest of the class, the other students will do the same. So we meet twice a week for band and orchestra during the school day. Classes are 30 minutes long. It's a go-to resource program, which means that students will miss something else in order to be in band and orchestra. It might be a little bit of science or maybe a little bit of specials, sometimes a little bit of recess. The good news is that our schedule is set up in conjunction with our classroom teachers who do a fantastic job of making sure that students aren't missing anything really important. Every time we have class, students again need to make sure they have their instrument, their book and music, and a pencil. Students who forget their instrument at home, or let's say an instrument is being repaired, or maybe they just left it at dad's house, they should still make sure that they come to class. This is really important. All students should understand this. Again, if a student forgets an instrument at home, they should come to class, follow along so that the things that we did, they can go home and practice, and we don't have to review them again the next time we have class, waste the precious time that we have. If your student is having a little bit of trouble forgetting, they might come home with a sheet that says, oops, I forgot my instrument. It'll list what it is that we worked on that day, what the homework is, and it'll have a little place to sign. That way, parents can make sure that they're getting a good value on the investment of renting an instrument. If a student isn't bringing it to school, that's definitely not good, and we want to make sure that we can help keep our kids responsible. So here's the weekly schedule. We meet twice a week. The Adams schedule is a little bit weird. They meet on Tuesday and then rotate weekly between Thursday and Friday. They will have a separate little handout for that. We'll talk to them about it in class. Don't worry about that so much. It sounds kind of crazy. We've done it in the past. It's gone fine. Not really a problem. The one big thing I want to talk about are the Monday, Friday classes. If your student has band or orchestra on Monday and Friday, those classes can sometimes be troublesome because we miss a lot of Mondays and Fridays. Those are typically the days that we have holidays or early releases. If we have a week where an early release is going on or we have Monday off, try to get your kid to practice a little bit more. Try to give them a little reminder, hey, go put in your 15 minutes, make sure you're doing something today. That way, if we have, a long week where we miss a lot of class, we can help to keep that progress going. So registration. So there's no cost for the program. We get asked this question a lot. There's no fee. The only thing is that your student needs to have the equipment. We'll talk a little bit about that in just a minute. To get registered, the contract in the back of that handbook that the students will get on that first day we have class, that's getting signed up. That will get them signed up. So if that contract comes back, they're signed up, they're ready to go. The one thing that is really important is that after that contract is signed, parents need to make sure that the information on file at the child's school is up to date. This is how I create a distribution email list so that when I send out reminders about concerts or rehearsals, or if something has to move because of some kind of unforeseen conflict, I have a good way of getting in contact with you. So make sure that the next time you stop in your kid's school, that you check with the office, make sure that information on file, your email, your phone number, that's all up to date so that I can stay in contact. So let's talk about getting an instrument. You can rent one at Instrument Display Night if you can make it on August 29th. If you can't, that's totally fine. These 5 music stores, Golden, Music and Arts, Rocky Mountain, Flusher Hinton, and Mi Vida, are all really fantastic. I've worked with the first 4 for several years. Mi Vida is new for a recommendation, but it comes highly recommended from my colleagues that work all throughout the district. I've heard lots of really good things. They are, I believe, just a string place. So if your student's going to be a band kiddo, that is not really going to be a good place to go. The other 4 places will be great, but string players, Mi Vida is really fantastic. If you cannot afford rental, and rental does cost a bit of money, we have what's called the Jeffco Instrument Loaner Program. So we have limited availability here because we have a small cache of instruments, and we have things like violins and violas and cellos and trumpets and clarinets and flutes. I believe our saxophones are all gone, so if your student is set on a loaner saxophone, I have bad news there. But they are first come, first serve. So if you're interested, contact us immediately. Cost is $125 for the year for the loaner program, and it's free if your student is on free and reduced lunch. As far as eBay and Craigslist go, if you find a really sweet deal online for something and you're not really sure about it, reach out to myself, reach out to Miss Reeve, and we can look at what it is that you're evaluating and try to give you a good recommendation in terms of value. If a good way to look at it is you typically get what you pay for. If you see like a really what looks like a really fantastic deal, like $100 for a violin, it's typically not going to be a very good instrument. So again, if when in doubt, contact myself, contact Miss Reeve. We do recommend avoiding things like going to your local supermarket to get an instrument because those instruments do fall apart very easily and they are very difficult to repair. So concert etiquette, very simple. When in doubt, wear black and white. We will probably be wearing black and white for our winter concert. For our festival in April, students will wear the festival t-shirt or just a plain white t-shirt and jeans. And we'll talk more about the festival t-shirt as we get deeper into the year. Students should arrive 30 minutes early if they're a band student, 45 minutes before a concert if they're an orchestra student. This gives us time to tune orchestra students. That does take a while. And if a student owns a folding music stand, we please ask that they bring them to concerts as well as after-school rehearsals. Rehearsals during the day, typically not really a big problem. Meiklejohn students or Lucas students, we usually have a really big enrollment in the band orchestra program at those schools. Not a bad idea to bring a folding music stand if you own one. And if you come to a concert and your child's group finishes first, we do ask that you stay for the whole concert out of respect for the rest of the performers. If you really have to leave because you have to get to like a soccer game or something, we understand. Just let Miss Reeve know so that we don't get surprised when a kid gets up and starts to walk out the door halfway through the concert. So report cards, your student will get a report card for band and orchestra, just like regular class. It'll be on the same document. The same things kind of apply. If you see a 3 or a B, it means your student's doing a fine job. We don't really give out 4s or A's a whole lot. So if you don't see any 4s or A's, that is not a bad sign at all. If a student's doing fantastic and really going beyond what we expect, that's when you start to see 4s. 2s are not necessarily bad. That means that a student is a little behind in a certain area, but they're showing progress and they're showing us that they are improving. It's 1s that you really got to look out for. 1s mean that a student has kind of flatlined on one specific skill and they're not showing any improvement, but they should never come as a surprise. If you see a 1 on a report card, you should have heard from myself, you should have heard from Miss Reeve, so that we can talk to you about it and try to head that off at the pass before those things become real problems. So we're on the internet. If you found this video, you obviously found our website, stanleylakemusic.com. If you ever have questions, if there's something you're trying to find information on, just always start on our website. It's just got tons of information, including events with arrival times, dress instructions, contact information, frequently asked questions, sections on instruments, just lots of info. So again, if you have a question, check out our website. We're also on Twitter and Facebook. I update the Facebook sometimes pretty frequently. I'll put up videos of things that I think are pretty cool that kids might be into. And if you're interested in text message reminders, you can send a text message to 81010. And in the message text, you want to put at SLEI Music. And if you do that, you will but around rehearsal concert times, I will send out reminders saying, hey, this is coming up. It's just a really good way to get those extra reminders for things. As a father myself, I tend to kind of forget some things sometimes, and it's just fantastic to get that reminder 48 hours in advance so that I have it fresh in my head and it doesn't sneak up on me in the last minute. If you have questions or concerns, you can email myself or Miss Reeve, or you can also call. You can find that information again on our website, stanleylakemusic.com. Thank you guys so much. We look forward to seeing a lot of kids this year in the program.